Because I'm doing a skincare video this week, I figured I'd drink a glass of water to remind you all to drink your glass of water. Did I say water in a weird accent? Water. Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel, Lockdown Literary Club. I am Sanjana. So this week, I'm actually going to do a video about skincare. Well, books that talk about skincare. So I'm going to recommend books that you read that will teach you about skincare. I say I won't do this, but I always end up giving people advice, and I'm sorry about that. It's just, I can't help it. But I will try really hard not to give you advice and instead recommend books that will give you the advice, because I'm not a dermatologist or a cosmetologist. I'm in no way qualified to tell you anything about your skin. I do think I know a little more than the average person, because I read a lot about this and I've done some research. How anything works is very interesting to me, so I spend a lot of time Googling and reading about how things work. So that way, because I'm more interested, I might know a little more, but still, you should always do your own research for everything in your life. So my video is going to be called Skincare and Books. Maybe I'll do a intro here. Okay, so why skincare? Well, part of the reason is because I personally, for selfish reasons, I've been very focused on my skin and skincare in general. I had acne as a teenager, breakouts as a teenager, and it continued into adulthood, and I tried to find a solution for that. It wasn't excessive acne. I didn't have my whole face covered in it as an adult, but I did have spots regularly. I guess one solution is makeup, but I've never been particularly good at makeup. I wish I was. I guess never spent enough time practicing it. And it's a skill. It's a real skill to learn how to make it look natural, right? You can't just pick up foundation one day, put it on your skin and expect it to be natural. And there's so many products you have to contour and all. I've learned some of it, but I've just not learned enough, and not because I think there's anything wrong with makeup. It's just I think I'm not as skilled at it. Makeup is you have to be precise about where you put things, which is not my forte. I'm very impatient, so I have no patience when it comes to makeup, which is why I don't personally like it. Not that I need to justify why I don't like makeup to anyone. Just want to be clear. This is not about natural beauty. Skincare is not natural organic beauty, guys. Everything is chemicals. Makeup is chemicals. Skincare is chemicals. You might take coconut oil and put it on your face. That's still a chemical. Water is a chemical. So do not use me as ammunition to say this is about organic or natural about your skin. None of us are being natural. We're just using different ways to express ourselves. So if makeup's your thing, good for you. I support your choice. So the way people look at skincare is that it's more preventative. Skincare is making sure the issues in skin don't arise in the first place, whereas makeup is just once they have risen, once you have a blemish or dark spots or whatever, dealing with them then. You can do both. Most people in the public sphere do both. They have decent skincare routines, and then they also do makeup. Some people want to do one or the other. It's completely your choice. I think they're both forms of self-expression. There's also a whole debate going on about whether skincare is about health and hygiene, or is it aesthetics and vanity. It's a very murky topic, if you ask me, because there are health and hygiene aspects of skincare where you have skin problems or skin disorders. Of course, you need a dermatologist for that. That's not a joke. You need to get treated for that. But also treating your occasional breakouts or the skin discoloration or something, people might assume that's about your vanity, but it might really affect your mental health. It might really stress you out and cause other physiological problems. So it's definitely very murky, but I wouldn't say it's completely about health, skincare, because there are a lot of products that are not just about health. My sunscreen is definitely about health and hygiene and protecting my skin from free radicals, harmful rays, etc. Whereas the third or the fourth serum I put on my face is not really about my health. It's definitely about my vanity, and that's okay. It makes me happy. I feel it does improve my skin, and even if it doesn't, it's just a therapeutic exercise for me to do my skincare routine every day. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I've noticed a lot of brands try to guilt people into using their product by saying this is about your hygiene, when it's really not. Having skin imperfections does not make you unhealthy. Or unclean. That shouldn't feel you're forced into this. This is definitely a personal choice. Yeah. but use sunscreen. I know that I just told you I wouldn't want to guilt you into this. Sunscreen is classified as a drug medication in most countries because it really protects your skin from skin cancer. Before I get into the books, there's one thing I wanted to point out is that beauty industry is growing at a massive rate. Health and beauty is definitely a $1 trillion industry right now. Beauty, skincare products make up about 35% of that industry, and skincare is like the fastest growing sector, so it's massive, it's getting bigger. There's so many brands that are being launched every year. A lot of people are investing in skincare products, and which is why I think it's very pertinent that we study this and like really understand our skin and why we're putting on certain products and why we're doing it. So this is a quote article. I might link the article in my bio. So before you start a militant skin routine, it is instructive to think about why you want one and why it seems like an intrinsic good. So like really examine like why do you want a skincare routine, because it is a big investment, and also why do you automatically assume like having a skincare routine or like having good skin is automatically like the thing to aspire to. So definitely examine that for yourself. Do not make this decision lightly, because it is a financial investment and as a growing industry, so it's going to take up more and more of your headspace, and it's going to be advertised to you constantly. So figure it out. Where I'm at with my skincare is that I've had a pretty much stable skincare routine for the last 2 years, 3 years almost, where I do cleanse, tone, moisturize, and sunscreen, or a night cream at night. You know, I have like a 4-step routine. It's pretty minimal. My breakouts have gone infinitely down. My skin is very stable, balanced, manageable, and I've loved it. But this year I just wanted to like up the game a little bit. The last 6-7 months I've done a little bit of research, and then I started introducing like serums and facial mists and masks and different things into my skincare routine. I've been trying a lot of different things, spacing them out, doing my research. No one freak out. Like I know like you don't use vitamin C with certain other things because you know they'll react, or like you shouldn't do like a hard AHA or BHA or a solution during the day. Better to do it at night, and definitely use sunscreen afterwards. I know, relax. I'm telling you, I'm very nitpicky about these things, so don't worry. I'm trying to figure out what works for me, what doesn't work for me. A lot of these things, they do say that you see the effects over time, which is why I want to like take the entire year and see if it's worth it for me. Because as I said, skincare is an investment, so I'm actually using myself as a personal experiment for myself. No one asked me to do this. I'm doing it for myself, and see if it's like worth it by the end. And if I don't see significant improvements in my skin, I'm probably just going to dial it back and go back to my 4-step routine that worked for me. Books. Now that I've mentioned that, I will tell you about 3 books here for you today, but Skincare by Hirons is the one that helped me the most. As I said, I'm trying to build a skincare routine, improve mine, and if you're coming from that perspective, this is probably the best book you'll read. Just off the bat, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It's really good. And I'll tell you why. It's just a really, really great resource for anyone that's trying to actually get into skincare. You should have some base level interest in skincare for this book to matter to you, but it's amazing. I think if there was ever a skincare class, like, you know, Skincare 101, this would be the required reading. This would be your textbook, your Bible, your dictionary. So it's amazing. Author, Caroline Hirons, is a cosmetologist. She's been in the industry for like 25, 30 years or so. She has a huge social media presence, and she gives tips and like reviews products and all of that. If you already like understand skincare and you want more information about what brands to use and not use, then definitely check out what she has put out online, like her videos, her blogs, etc. What she gets into in this book is that first thing she does is actually explains some of the basic science behind your skin, like how does it work, so that you know what's feasible and not feasible when it comes to skin. So for instance, like she breaks it down to like you have epidermis, dermis, and subcutis. Most skincare products, if you can buy them at a drugstore or a supermarket or order them online, anything you can buy without a prescription, any topical solution, anything you can put on without like a prescription, usually will not penetrate beyond your epidermis layer, the top layer of your skin. You usually need like a needle, like microabrasion, or it has to be like a oral solution, or internally ingest things, or go through like surgery or whatever for it to affect your dermis. Anything topical is very, very, very unlikely that it'll ever penetrate deep into your dermis. It's especially at the concentrations that are sold. No way, it's not going to get to your dermis. Which is why you need to be skeptical if any product is claiming that they'll get rid of your pores, because pores are genetic. You cannot get rid of your pores. Pores are not just on your epidermis. The base of your pore, the root of your pore, is in your dermis, and that can't be treated with a topical solution. A layperson, most of us, are not aware of these things. We don't have a very clear understanding of what are the different layers of your skin. And what like can be done and can't be done. Stem cells is another thing that people are rubbing on their face, but we all have stem cells already, and putting plant-based stem cells on the top layer of our skin is very unlikely that it's going to penetrate and make any difference to you. Another thing I really liked is that she actually takes time to talk about darker skin tones and issues specific to darker skin tones. I wanted to like discuss darker skin tone just a little bit because I'm of darker skin tone, and most of you probably are darker skin tones. Darker skin tones produce more melanin, and we have a more densely packed stratum corneum, which is like the topmost layer of your epidermis. And that causes a bunch of issues because it's very densely packed. Because we have a lot of elastin and collagen, it will mean like our skin elasticity is great. We won't get wrinkles till much later, like less appearance of wrinkles, but there's extra collagen in your skin does mean that you're more likely to get hypertrophic scarring, which means when you have like hurt your skin or something, it's more likely that you'll have a raised scar because of the extra collagen. Also like hyperpigmentation, because we have a lot of extra melanin, so when we have scarring, we might have like discoloration and hyperpigmentation as a result of our excess melanin in our skin. So, transepidural water loss is specific to darker skin tones, and which is why we should look for products that have like ceramide or something that talk about barrier repair or barrier protection. I'm sorry if I threw words at you that you didn't know, but I swear all of these words I've learned because of her. And then additional research afterwards. Like she does kind of provide you what like a good skincare routine looks like for every age, how you can modify it depending on age, and what you should concentrate on, what are the problems that arise. She talks about skincare routines and products we can use by the type of skin we have, combination, normal, oily, or dry. I think the most common skin type is combination skin. Very unlikely you'll have normal skin. You have to be blessed. Some of the other things that are in here that are cool: how to read product labels and busts a lot of myths about skincare. Some things that she's very anti. She doesn't like sheet masks and like makeup removing wipes. Another thing that's cool about this book is that she does explain skin conditions, skin disorders, and all of that. Those are strictly something for your dermatologist to fix. You like if you have eczema, if you have psoriasis, very persistent bad acne, this is not something you should expect to fix on your own. This is something you should talk to your dermatologist about. For those conditions, yes, you can try to find your own solutions on top of what your dermatologist does recommend to you, but don't try to fix it on your own. That's not how this works. She has a glossary and she breaks down like all these different brands, and at no point is she actively dissing a certain brand or saying this is wrong. She does criticize certain practices that are done by the beauty industry, but never explicitly calls out any brand and said this is the wrong brand to use for this, or never explicitly praises a brand trying to promote them. So I read this book because I wanted beauty recommendations, but it did not feel forced. I did not feel like she was promoting one brand over another. It's very well done. There's a lot of good beauty recommendations in here, good beauty tips. I will not break down the entire book because she wrote a book for a reason. She's the expert, so you should listen to her, not to me. It's a great book, like great resource. My entire beauty regime is kind of almost inspired or set up by her. Like great book to start off your skincare journey on. So check it out. There's 2 more books on this list. So the second book I wanted to introduce in this video is Clean by James Hamblin. This book is kind of the antithesis of what skincare is, but not in a negative way. The gimmick that was used to advertise this book was that the author of this book, who's a journalist, James Hamblin, he's right here, did not shower for 5 years. If you see his interviews and all, he looks like he has really good skin, really good physique, really good skin. So like, oh wait, if he can go without a shower for 5 years, why do I have to use these many products on my skin? And that might be the thing that makes you pick up this book, but I don't think that's really the point of the book. He barely like discusses it. So that was a starting point for him. He's kind of stopped showering, and then he went on in this explorative journey of trying to understand our skin, which is our largest organ. He is a doctor, so he does come at it from two different perspectives. As a journalist who's trying to understand the skincare industry, and also as a doctor who's trying to understand like the organ skin. So it's a fantastic book. It blew my mind. Like, you know what Sapiens did for me for understanding Homo sapiens, the species, and like all of human history. Like kind of jerking you out of your worldview and or reorienting you to look at things in different ways. This book did that for me for skincare and skin in general. Some of the things I want to highlight from this book is the word clean. That is a word he hates. Hirons and James Hamblin would agree that the word clean is a very, very problematic word in the skincare world. Not something you should try to achieve with your skin. The clean feel of your skin means that you're just stripping away the good with the bad, right? You want to take out all the dirt from your skin, all the toxins from your skin, and clean your pores, but you should not try to take away all the bacteria that exists on your skin. This book continually tries to understand and take the different perspectives of like the link between hygiene and beauty throughout human history. It's not just now that beauty brands are all advertising skincare products as like a hygiene thing. As long as skincare products have existed, as long as soap has existed, it had some or the other link to beauty. It's actually pretty fascinating. There's like a few chapters that talk about like soap making. It was not always commercially produced. Most people made their own soap using lard and animal fat and ash, and just the combination of like water resistant particles and oil resistant particles like forged together create soap. It was really cool, like the history of like how soap got made, and then like how the advertising for soap set the path for so many things that exist today. A cool fact mentioned in this book that like kind of blew my mind is soap operas are called soap operas because they were created to advertise soaps. So that was a really cool thing to learn. Yeah, soap was first about beauty, then it became about like hygiene and getting rid of all the bad bacteria. So what this book is trying to explain to us is like take a more macro view at the skincare industry and skin in general, because our skin is home to trillions and trillions of bacteria. It's hundreds of thousands of species of bacteria that live on our skin, and each square centimeter of our skin itself has like billions of bacteria. It's been referred to as in our second genome. Our skin in itself is a whole other living creature, and that's because we've barely scratched the surface on what our skin can do. Our skin is not just regulating our body temperature and holding all our organs in. That's not all it's doing. The science behind this is fairly new. Only recently are a lot of studies being done to understand the link between the organisms that live on our skin, the microbiomes, and our health. So sometimes they've realized like there's bacteria on your feet that is antifungal, which is why you don't get foot fungus as often. So if you constantly strip away all the bacteria that lives on your skin and you're trying to get it as clean as possible, and that means you will kill that bacteria that's already doing its job of making sure you don't get a terrible foot fungus and die. So it's already their job to regulate our skin, and for the most part they've been doing their job really well. Antibiotic is basically trying to remove bacteria, the harmful bacteria on your skin. But like antibacterial soap, what they end up doing is not just removing harmful bacteria, but also the good bacteria. If you consistently strip your skin, your soap doesn't know which one is the bad bacteria and the good bacteria. So it'll strip everything away. So what's been happening is that, because people strip everything in the skin away, we've started selling stuff probiotic now, like probiotic solutions for your gut, probiotic solutions for your skin. Except most probiotic things that you introduce to your skin are not as diverse as what already exists on our skin. You might be taking away thousands of species of bacteria from your skin and introducing one or two. And just because you introduce something to your skin doesn't mean it'll adapt to the habitat. Like they've realized about maybe 3% of any bacteria that you introduce to your skin that doesn't already naturally exist will ever stick. It really doesn't work. That's the point this book is trying to make, that we don't fully understand what we are stripping away from our skin and what we're introducing into it. But like the word everyone researching this and studying this agree on is that do not try to go for the clean skin, because your skin is for the most part able to take care of itself. Like, you know, clean feel for your skin is only meant for your hands. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this book. It's pretty brilliant, and it's a very cool book. It's a very like amazing journalistic effort. Completely changed the way I understood skin. Did not stop me from still using my skincare products, but I'm very conscious about like how I like cleanse my skin. Just for an example, I used to wash my face like 10 to 15 times a day growing up, and then I would get mad because I'd like break out a lot and really oily skin. I'm like, I'm washing it 10 times a day. What else do you want? I didn't understand the reason I had really oily skin and breakouts was because I was washing it that many times. I was constantly stripping my skin of like the natural oils, and when I put soap that many times, I'm messing with the bacteria that exists, which is why it's overproducing the oil. Skin is irritated, and I had breakouts. So don't try to do excess. Like, cleanse your skin once or twice a day with a very gentle cleanser max. Because he hasn't showered in 5 years, he does talk about like how initially the first few weeks you do experience some breakouts and irritants, but as time goes on, your skin does adapt like to the new equilibrium. Like, you stop shampooing your skin, it's oily for a couple of weeks, and after a while it's normal. And the same with your smell also. Like, after a while you don't smell like anything, you're just normal. And another thing he does recognize, which I appreciate, is when white people recognize their privilege. So, which she did, Caroline Hirons, Brownie Pines, and he also does. He does acknowledge his privilege. He says he lives in a developed country. He's white. He's already does fit the norm of like what is acceptable with society and aesthetically pleasing, because you know we don't judge white skin as hardly as dark skin. Like, there's a lot of privilege even in just having a certain skin color. So he does recognize that. He says the reason he's been able to do this experiment is because people won't automatically look at him and assume he's unclean, right? Whereas like people of darker skin tones or like minorities have to work that much harder to prove themselves and have to adhere to a certain like norm and appearance for us to be accepted by society. So he does recognize that. He's not recommending we all drop our skincare routines or stop using soap and showering. He's just trying to examine the industry and step back and explaining his experience of it. It's a really good book. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Like, very, very different books that talk about skincare, but both phenomenal. So whichever path you take, and you might want to take neither, but they're great books to check out. I would actually say you should read them in tandem. You should read them together. They work well as accompanying books, okay? You should get the whole picture, everyone, yeah? So last book is The Korean Skincare Bible, The Ultimate Guide to K-Beauty Secrets by Lilin Yang, Lee Ganse, Sara Jiménez. But why Korean skincare beauty? Well, this has been trending for the last decade or so, and I'm sure it'll continue to trend for another decade. Like, BB creams and sheet masks is the Korean contribution to the skincare world. They're almost ubiquitous, like good skincare routine. We don't use BB creams as much anymore, but for like a good 5 years in the early 2010s, they were really, really big. And sheet masks are really big now. They have been for a while. So this is definitely something people have added because of like the Korean influence in our skincare beauty regime. K-pop, K-drama, and Korean skincare are very big right now. And to their credit, in Korean culture, having good skin has been considered a necessity for a long time for them. So they are very focused on this. I think they're ahead of the curve also when it comes to innovation and using new ingredients for your skincare. So they're actually like far ahead of like some of the European markets, and which is why most brands are turning towards like the Asian ingredients and Asian skincare tips. That's the reason I wanted to check out this book, and I also wanted to try out this Korean skincare routine. There's like an entire section which does talk about the Korean skincare routine, which is like a 10-step, sometimes 12, sometimes 8, but 8 to 12 step routine that you do every day, morning and night. It's a little extensive. My beauty routine has already gone up 7 to 8 steps already. So I guess in some ways I am doing the Korean skincare routine most days, minus 1 or 2 trademark products. Like, for them, you have to use a sheet mask almost every day. This book at least says you have to use it twice a day, in fact, morning and evening. I'm not doing that. There's no way I'm doing a sheet mask every single day. Twice a day is too much. Like, I've tried to do it a few times, and there was too much hyaluronic acid on my face, and I was like, this is too much gloss even for me. I love like the dewy, glossy, moisturized look, but it was just far too much. So yeah, so it is a lot, but I wanted to try it, and it does give you this Korean skincare routine if that's what you're looking for. Another thing it explains is like the Korean outlook of how to look at skincare. Culturally for them, skincare is about preventative measures, how they rather solve the problem even before it exists. A couple of problems I had with the book in that section is where it almost always equated good skin with health, which is very, very problematic for me. There was a lot of pseudoscience thrown in there. I wouldn't have picked it up if I didn't read Caroline Hirons' book and done my own skincare research. But like now that I have some basic understanding of how skin works and like what's feasible, I knew it was pseudoscience where they were just like throwing buzzwords at you and promising things that are not quite feasible in here, which I think it's very responsible to mislead your readers this way. Also very responsible to equate perfect skin with hygiene and health. But the things I did like is that there's a section that explores natural ingredients that are quite common in Korean skincare solutions, like calendula, rice extract, tea tree oil, bee venom, propolis, snail slime, which is really big now, licorice is another product that's really big now, rosehip oil. All of these things that are trending right now, they do mention them and like what they do for your skin. So I liked that section a lot. The pseudoscience and the confusion between hygiene and health and beauty I could have excused, but the thing that really, really bothered me about this book is that they did have product recommendations, not as many as Caroline Hirons. Like every section again had product recommendations, and after like reading a few, I've realized they were recommending the same brands over and over again. And I was like, wait, why? And one of the brands they kept advertising used a lot of essential oils, and most skincare enthusiasts will tell you if someone is consistently advertising products that you put on your face which have a lot of essential oils or aromatics or perfume, then that's problematic because your skin usually will get irritated, especially if you have sensitive skin and you put perfume or essential oils on it. So I was like, why would people who care about skincare this much talk about like a brand that is clearly built around essential oils? And then you realize why is because I think they're promoting two companies. There's two companies that are consistently mentioned in this book, and they're definitely promoting them. Not only have they recommended their products throughout, they actually gave an entire section where the CEOs, the marketing heads of the company write a couple of pages talking about their brand and like why it's good for you and all of that. Just like this, no, just no. Automatically, that just compromises all the recommendations for me, because now I'm like, you clearly have an agenda. You want to sell their products. That's it. That's the reason you want to sell their products. Like, why should I take your advice? So when it came down to it, the bad outweighed the good, where it told me what the Korean skincare routine is, which I could have looked up on YouTube and I would have found out. And it broke down the innovative ingredients for me that are coming out of Asia, which I already knew most of them because they're like the big buzzwords now. Ultimately, this book wasn't worth it for me. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. You can check it out. As I said, if you can like weed out all the bad things and just focus on what it's giving you, then I'm sure it's fine. But my worry is like for someone who has a very basic understanding of skincare, like someone who just uses a cleanser and a sunscreen, and like they pick up this book and read it, I'm very worried about what it's putting out there. So yeah, please don't read it if you don't know much about skincare. Those were the 3 books I read about skincare. I've actually read 2 more books on my Kindle. Those were even worse than this book, so I didn't even think I needed to include them in my video. Yeah, I have other books booked out that I want to explore. I actually want to look at this book called Treatments, like that talks about like using needles and treatments and everything a dermatologist, a cosmetologist, or an esthetician can do for you when it comes to skincare. It's nothing I can do topically. I want to read that because I'm very fascinated with this world, but I'm going to give myself another 6 months before I read it, because as I said, this year is definitely about like topical solutions for me, and then maybe if I'm still interested, maybe I'll look at the other stuff. But thank you for watching my video. Be responsible about what products you buy, what products you put on your skin, and like, you know, how much you're stripping away, because our skin does more than just hold our organs in. It's responsible for our general well-being, and so just don't constantly strip everything away, okay? And if you don't care about skincare at all, at the very least you can do is put on sunscreen. That's all. Just put on sunscreen. Everything else is secondary. First, put on sunscreen, and then other stuff. Wash your hands, put on sunscreen. The rest, I don't really care about. Do what you want. But if you do care about skincare, read these two because they're amazing books. Do like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want. Have a discussion about skincare. Ask me questions. A lot of you like to Instagram me tough questions about this, which is fine, but I would prefer if the comments and questions were here. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna go now. Okay, bye.